Co-presenter this morning is David. David is a customer of Microsoft, he told me, so should be extremely interested in what you have to say. So I'll sit with the audience and I'll let you start. If you have questions at the end, speak in the red box. Thank you.
Perfect. Let's jump straight into the topic. So my name is David Chomca. I'm coming from Czech Republic. I call myself a collaboration geek because I really like all those topics around collaboration. Just right when I came, I saw the phone. Hey, I need to check it out. What's there? Let's go figure. It's all about like why I'm talking about myself as a collaboration geek. So I'm located in Czech Republic, and I have like 10 plus years experience in the voice over IP, in UC, in the collaboration world, and just recently I jumped into the totally different river and career. I switched to the role of more product management, and I became a product owner for the collaborative workplace in the company HeidelbergCement. HeidelbergCement is a global company. Maybe in the UK you will know them as Hansen. In North America as Lehigh Hansen. We have also in Belgium some subsidiaries. So I'm coming from that role of being an operational guy, but then also the voice engineer, system engineer, and also the architect for the collaboration tools. And Teams deployment and Teams voice deployment, this was my basically agenda for the last 2 years. And last year, maybe you were attending virtually even, I was speaking about a real life story, which was about our first early stage of Teams telephony deployment in our company. And it would be maybe fair enough to mention how this story developed. Because I was thinking what would be the session after 1 year on this console. So I was like thinking maybe I do not have anything to say. And then I realized that we have already like 7 countries on the Teams telephony. We have more than 3,000 users on Teams telephony. We have a SBC infrastructure in a high availability mode within the disaster recovery in the Azure. And all is managed by us, by in-source IT. And we are using local SBCs for local media optimization. We are using the media bypass version 1. So quite complicated infrastructure. We have already now automated provisioning of the Teams telephony users in our identity and access management. So nothing like a third-party product, just specifically for that, but we incorporated the provisioning into our identity and access management. And we also, my colleague from Australia, because they are currently deploying Teams telephony to 600 sites, he made a special tool for the survey to collect all the details about the users and the phone numbers, and then he immediately can jump straight into the provisioning of those users within the phone numbers in the Teams environment. So he made a tool which is making the deployment quite easy for us. But then I decided I would talk about the biggest challenge of the overall, because the last year, all of those sudden, it might be a topic for each session, right? And the biggest challenge which I have seen over the last year was the diversity. And I'm talking about the diversity of the setup that we have. So if you imagine that we did the rollout of those services in the headquarters, the main headquarters in Heidelberg, it was 800 users, just all of them had a soft phone, and all of them had a headset. It was just about running the script. That's it. Nothing really critical, and just you assign a license, that's it. But the environment which I'm talking about as a customer, this is an old hall in Edmonton, in Canada, and I was saying goodbye to this one, full of panels, like kilometers long distances between the phone and the station. This is the environment which I'm talking about. Really diverse setup of the employees with the different demands for their calling. And also those phones. This is the reality of and it was really working until we did something with that, but really it was working. You can imagine, it's an iron case. Why? Because it's a heavy testing environment. I'm talking about the cement plants. I'm talking about environment where if you have a nice touch screen, no go, probably. So this is where I then started to ask questions, how to license then my users, because this is not about giving a headset to somebody and assigning the phone system license. It's not really that straightforward. So the first thing, which I will just touch very briefly, because there was a really cool session by Ben Lee in the previous days about what to choose, direct routing, calling plan, operator connect. So just from the perspective of the license, to stick within the topic of the license, you might have PSTN line, you might have on-premise PBX, analogs. You definitely have Microsoft Teams as your cloud PBX system. And then if you would like to build something like a connection between those two things, then you would go for the direct routing. That's quite clear. Which is especially for the controller. Not the intention, but there's audio code side. So one of the partners, thank you for making the consoles happen. If then you make the connection between those things, you have a direct routing. For that, you don't have to have a special Microsoft license. This is something which you will build or you will make as a service from the provider in the cloud. Might work. So for the PSTN connectivity specifically, you might need license from Microsoft, which is calling plan. Calling plan is a subscription where you get the 3 minutes. International, national, this is something which you need to consider as a license if you make a decision to go for the just purely PSTN in the cloud. That's the option. For Operator Connect, a little bit of a story. Again, you have a contract with your provider. No special license. So the first idea, all the users currently within the phone number will be just simply licensed within the phone system. So you take the list of all users with their phone numbers, or you just take your all phone numbers and you count, okay, I have 300 phones. I will need the 300 phone system licenses then, right? There are some pitfalls, which I will talk about, because the phone system will enable the PBX features, like voicemail, call forwarding, transfer, everything like that. This will enable that functionality for your user to then make those PSTN calls based on what you choose, right? Direct routing, Operator Connect, calling plan. There is a star in the voicemail. Be careful for the voicemail, you need to have another license. You need to have exchange online. You need to have an enabled mailbox. Without that, you will not have the voicemail. So it's not like that you will push the phone system to the user and then you will just have it. No, you need to have also the exchange online. So you might have already provisioned users within the E-licenses, right? And then you can put the phone system as an add-on. So if you have E1 or E3, you can put the add-on, and you have basically enabled users for the teams within the PSTN calls. In E5, it's already included, so you don't have to take care about the special license. Fine. Then you have enabled users, and what about the first-line workers? You might have a situation where you have guys who are having a mobile phone, for example, clear example, batchers. They are running around the office, they are not really stuck in one place, and they have mobile phones. They do not have a PC. Okay, what to do with them? They have an account, it might be an F account, and they can add the phone system on top of that. Oh, sorry. So they will be enabled within the enterprise voice. They will have calls for call queues, call part transfer. And what about the voicemail? Well, officially, there is stated that there is no voicemail. I tried it, and there is an exchange kiosk within the F3 license. And the mailbox is enabled, and it's working. I don't know if it's fully compliant, but I would just say if Microsoft states it does not work, no voicemail, and it works, and it has the voicemail, I do not really so much trouble in using that because it's working. I will not stop my users. It's there. It's in Teams, and I can use it. So users could use the Team desktop client, like occasionally, not within the dedicated PC, because to stay compliant with the F licenses, you are allowed to have only this 10.1 inches device, mobile device, and you are not allowed to use those installed applications. And this is about the F licenses more specifically. So what are the pitfalls of this setup? Like user within the E or F plus phone system. Well, if you look on those numbers, then not all numbers are really assigned to the users, rather to the department or the role. What to do with those roles? Then you have users, and not all of them are having a PC. So that idea of the soft phone really will not work. Not all users need to dial out the PSTN number. We found out that there are a lot of people who even does not need to dial out from their phones, because they are just receiving the calls. And some of them even do not have the DVI number. There are surveys in North America, which we did, and especially in the US, we have the situation: 2 POTS lines, really all analog lines from the provider, and 20 people behind. So those 20 people are having an extension number, which is not reachable outside of the company, so-called non-DVI numbers, non-direct dial-in numbers. And now if I assign a phone system license to those people, but I don't have a number for them. I don't have a number. I have only an extension, right? How that will work? And do I need to have a really the phone system license for them? That's the question. So I was thinking about that, and I was basically making that structure of thinking about this problem as a users and phone numbers, and put it together, thinking about this together, and then trying to make a decision if I need to license them or not. So I have a user's needs. The user needs to call in and out only internal calls, nothing more, just internal. Then I have a users and they need to have a PSTN calls, which means calling out and in from externals. Then I have people who might receive occasionally some calls from PSTN, or they have non-DDI number and they do not call out, so they don't need it. Even for the emergency, they have maybe some different red phone somewhere for the emergency, and they do not need to have personally any demand for the calling out. Who is the owner of the number? It's the next question. Personal phone number or non-personalized phone number? As I said, we can have a group of people within the phone number, department number, phone dedicated number. Here is the number for that specific phone for this conference. Like, this is not used or owned by a concrete person, right? This is also a phone which is used by multiple people. And maybe only for internal, maybe for external. So those are the things which I'm putting together and then make a decision. For the demand of only internal calls or occasionally calling time to time, I really do not care then if it's a personal phone number or non-personalized phone number. I will explain later. Now, if I have only internal calls, how to do that? How to achieve that? Within the native Teams calls. Like, I have all the users enabled within the Teams, so I can stick within just the Teams. So then I do not have to have anything else than just the Microsoft Teams enabled here. And I don't need to have a tick up. Then I have just the PSTN calls coming in randomly. How can I solve this problem? So what about making the auto attendant, especially for those coming from those sites where they have two public numbers, and those two public numbers are then distributed to multiple other people? Well, I can make the auto attendant for that. Usually we are talking about the small sites, maybe 5, 6 people. I can make a menu for them. I can make a department for them. And I can even use the auto attendant directory search. So just tell the name to the auto attendant, and it will reach that user. Do I need a license for that? Phone system license? No. So if you would like to use the auto attendant directory search within your organization, you don't need to have the license on those users to deliver them even the PSTN call coming from the auto attendant number. Fine, that's cool.
Can I just clarify that, because that makes no sense to me, but I'm assuming that I'm a Teams client, I have a call coming in via PSTN, but it's the first time I've ever touched this. Cool.
So what I'm talking about is that you have the auto attendant, which is within the number, and then you are trying to reach the person from the auto attendant using the directory search in the auto attendant, and there, if you route that call to that person, you don't have to have this person enabled within the phone system.
Okay.
Because this call is not considered as the PSTN call, but a call from user resource account to the user without the phone system license. It's a Teams user.
And you can put any user in the auto attendant, which is what I was getting to, regardless of their license.
Be careful in the directory search. I will then talk later about the auto attendants and how you can set up those things later on.
Cool.
But you can also have a receptionist. Receptionist is having their phone number on his phone, right? And he or she is receiving calls from the site. She can do the transfer of the calls to any Teams user, and it will not require the Teams phone system license for that user. So you can pretty much have those special departments where you don't need to have dedicated phone number for those people. They will just receive a calls based on the need when the receptionist will find out that need. And by the way, it works also for the outgoing calls. I can call as a Teams user without the phone system. I can call my receptionist, and my receptionist can transfer my call to any other external phone number. I can do that. So if you have users who are having a call once a month, you don't have to license them in the phone system because there is no practical need for them. Because they were anyway maybe used to work like that. That's a possibility. So then I have a Microsoft Teams, and I don't need to have any other add-on for those users. So let's have a look at those who are having the PSTN calls as daemon. They have in and out calls. Those users we will manage as enterprise voice-enabled users with a SIN number. That's clear. There is no doubt about that. Still we have that non-personalized use number and personalized use number, so we need to take care about the proper license. So there we need the Microsoft Teams within the phone system add-on. And for those non-personalized phone number, that's a question, which I will answer later. But hey, there is something wrong. I was talking about the internal calls. What about the analogs on the side? What about elevator installed on the side? All of those things connected within the direct routing. This is also internal call. You need to keep that in mind. So if I assign the license on Microsoft Teams and not the phone system for those users, I will not give them the option to call number. And all of those analog phones are just reachable by the phone number because they are on the direct routing infrastructure, on the SBC. This is the way how it's working. Right? This is the official documentation. So we have analogs connected to the usually analog telephony adapter. Then you have a certified session border controller. And you can see that this call is happening over the SBC. SBC is not talking with Microsoft based on the users, but based on the SIP, based on the signaling, based on the numbers. And the routing is happening based on the number. So, is there a solution? Yes. I was thinking about that. May I still keep my users without the phone system and make them possible to reach the analogs? Think about the out attendant. We had this situation already on site, and we just developed the out attendant that you can call the out attendant over the number, and then you can basically route the calls to any other Teams user. Again, it's just a directory search in the out attendant. And the analog phone can reach the Teams users. What about the opposite way? There it's tricky. There you need to really think about your users and make the proper survey if they need to reach all these analog phones. And if so, and you still would like to keep you safe from additional licensees, then maybe you can think about the outlet and then for the Teams users to reach those analogs. You can make a menu. You can put there the, like option 1, it's an analog in the laboratory. Option 2, it's analog somewhere in the driver's room. Yeah, and you can just make an option as a Teams user because you, as a Teams user, are allowed to call the out attendant as a resource user. You would not use the phone number. You would use calling the user, and then you can basically transfer from the out attendant the call to the PSTN or to any other external number. So what about the rotary phones? How to do that? This is a little bit more tricky because rotary phones are not working with all those shiny 88. It's a little bit more tricky. This is the trick. So we replaced it, did a little bit more fancy, and this is what we did. We basically installed some of the analog adapters, and for that you need to have specifically for the audio codes, you need to have a user registered license. But this is the license which is loaded in the SBC. Then you have a session border controller, which might be on site, just to keep some resilience. Or it could be even in the data center if you make a choice. And then you need to have SBC session licenses. So those are the licenses which you need when you are taking care about the analog connections. But those licenses are not Microsoft licenses. This is something which you need to take care of with the vendor of the SBC or the ATA which you choose. Okay, and then you have a Microsoft. No Microsoft license needed for that specifically. You just will make a connection. This is a physical one, and the other is just a SIP connection, and that's it. So, non-personalized user experience and when the desk phone is needed. These are the use cases where you need to have a phone. This is what we have identified as okay, those guys need to have a phone on site. We cannot make it within the just the soft phone on the PC. I will not go through all of them, just there is a similarity. Usually they need to have for the international or national emergency calls, they need to have a call history, they need to have a contact, time to time they need to have a call forwarding, and specifically those in red, two in red, there was a demand that they even need to be in the call queue, and that there needs to be a voicemail, specifically for the laboratory and research. So they would like to stay in touch with the people even after the business hours and have the voicemail. Sounds like common area phone, like phone in the common area. And are you able to achieve those things with common area SQU license? It's a simple calling in and out. It's a disabled voicemail. Okay, I will accept that for one of my use cases it will not work, but fine, still I have a multiple other use cases. Cool. Search contacts, awesome. And there are different policies which you can assign to the common area phone, or to any IP phone. There is a common area experience, there is a meeting room experience, and there is a user sign-in experience. And if you choose the user sign-in experience, then you have the possibility even see the call forwarding as a setting or the call history. But just hold on. This has changed in June, and there was an announcement. We will enforce the common area phone policy and mode into your phones once you are using the common area phone license. So then, license is basically assigned to the user account. How it looks like. So this is the user sign-in mode, okay? This is the experience. This is the common area phone license account. Log into the phone. It's a C470. You see that there is a possibility to go to the settings, so the status message, there are calls, people, voicemail. The voicemail is not working, by the way, because it's a common area phone and that is a disabled voicemail, but I don't know why it's still there, but it's there. And you see that the version of this phone is older. This is, I think, somewhere from April. So I did the upgrade. Once I did the upgrade, the experience was there, and after 24 hours, it changed. And this is common area phone experience. And you see you have only the possibility to dial out. So it's limited. No call history. If there is a missed call, you will not see it. There is no forwarding. It's moved to the administrator. So you can change the call forwarding, but only within the administrator. Well, that's also no for common area phone, because it will not fit our purpose. And I believe it was more customers I was digging into the tech community and all the partners community, and I was searching how to solve that. Well, you might think about the solutions, but you might not be the compliant with the proper licensing that, like E1 with phone system. And also it's making a little bit of increase of the cost for these users. But I believe there is a bright future of common area phone. So just to complete the topic, and to be absolutely fair, Microsoft is listening to the customers, and I appreciate it. So, update by end of this September, this enforced policy will be removed. So I hope for that, and we will be able again to have a user sign-in mode on this phone, IP phone as an experience. So it will be again possible to have a call history and all of those things, which is great. And when I searched in the partner community, there was even an announcement that there will be the increase of the scope for. And that's even much better, because there will be even other capabilities like outlet and call queues, and even maybe the voicemail will come into that scope. And maybe in 2022, I'm really hoping for that. And it's like I will have a Christmas from that, really, because it will solve so much my problems on to find the proper license. So if you hear me, Microsoft, please do it. So. But we have another option. I meant multiple options, I'm sorry for that, but it's a reality. And if you would like to make it complicated for yourself, just think about this possibility. Simple calling, if you have a direct routing in place, if you have a session mode controls in place, you might think about those stupid phones that are just making an in and out calls as a simple SIP phones that you would like to maybe install. And if I'm supposed to move this phone, for example, to the Teams telephony, which is ugly, but yeah, I might have demand for that because I need to for some time save money, or I don't know, just I know that maybe it will be removed anyway. Why not to register that phone to that SBC and just make a simple call routing? It's also a possibility. If you have that infrastructure already in place, that's fine, but you will not like the management of that. You will not have the connection of this phone with any of your system, which might drive the upgrades and firmwares. Well, who knows if those phones are still having a firmware upgrade, right? But you will not like it. You will not have the monitoring of this. You will not have the experience, team static experience, and maybe even the users will be disappointed. So waiting for Microsoft within that option to register such a phone, maybe a little bit newer phone, within the directly implicit proxy. Let's see what will be the pricing. Let's see what will be the way how it's done. I can imagine some resource account with some special license, or maybe just within the real user. I don't know. Let's see. But there will be the possible management within the Teams admin center. You will have the possibility to upgrade those phones over the Teams admin center based on the announcements which I have. So there will be specific phones from the specific vendors, SIP phones, and for the basic functionalities, it will be really awesome option. So, non-personalized numbers, auto attendance and call queues. So this is the second part. We have the non-personalized numbers which are assigned to the auto attendant and to the device, to the desktop. Now we have an auto attendant and call queues. So there is a special license for that. Phone system, but virtual user. You might have heard about that. For the resource accounts, which are provisioned for the call queues and auto attendants, and these are the special resource accounts. You need to go to the Teams admin center, to the specific part resource account. You will make the resource account. If it's call queue or auto attendant, then you will switch to the Office 365 user admin, then you will assign the virtual user phone system license. When I need to license those accounts, do I need to do all the time and for all the accounts? No. Why? Well, first of all, you have a limited amount of those licenses. Those licenses are for free. And you will get them once you purchase the phone system license. You will get 25 those virtual users, if I'm not mistaken. And then for every 10 users, you will get additional 1 virtual user phone system. So if I have 11 users, and I have immediately 26 virtual user phone system license. So those are for free. You can purchase them over the process in the Office 365 or with your partners, which is for us the case, because we don't want to purchase directly from the Office admin center, but through a partner. And once you have this, you need to make a decision. Do I need to put into that, or put on that account license? So, the first, when the resource account needs to have the number assigned, then for sure you need to assign this virtual user license to that account. You need to have a phone number on that. Well, maybe you need the phone number on all of them, right? Not really. You can imagine that you are making a little bit more complicated structure with your auto attendant and call queues. So, for example, I will have an auto attendant which will make the decision about the business hours, about the holidays, about options which I have, and this auto attendant resource account will be assigned within the number, so licensed. And behind one of the options, I will have a group of people. And this group of people, will be not specifically reachable number, but just only through the auto attendant. So then the call queue will not need the number. So then I don't need to have the license on that, because it will work without a proper license on that. Okay, but when the resource account, or the call queue, or when the auto attendant needs to dial out to external number, then you need to assign the license. So be careful about that. You also need to take care about that ability on those accounts to call out. So be careful about PSTN, so having a calling plan or having the direct routing address. And there are particular cases where the resource account needs to dial out, and I will mention them. So one of them is when you have a collaborative call queue, there is a new option to call on behalf of the resource account, and you can have multiple resource accounts assigned as a possibility. And then all of those resource accounts needs to be licensed within the virtual user phone system license, because they need to have a PBX capability, because they have a specific call routing policy on them. and you are using those accounts to call out. So just be aware about that. And also, if you would like to call external numbers from the outer attendant and call queue as an option, like I don't know, some on-call duty during the business hours, you will need to call external number. You need to assign a license to such a resource account. So just to summarize also the user perspective. User accounts, if you would like to accept the calls from the call queue from a specific user, you need to have a phone system license. Such a user does not have to necessarily have a number, but if you would like to put him into the call queue, he needs to be licensed within the phone system, real phone system license, to accept the calls. If you try to put the user into the call queue and he is not or she is not licensed within the phone system, it will not work. It will not give you even the collaborative call queue experience if you would like to manage this way. User accounts, which are part of the menu. So you have an outer attendant, and then you have a menu. Press option 1, press option 2, press option 3. And if you try to put somebody, and this person is not licensed within the phone system, it will shout on you. It's not enabled users. I try to put my guest account into the outer attendant, and my guest account is not definitely licensed with anything. So there is no enterprise voice enabled, so it will not work. But again, outer attendant and search directory, this will work. Okay? Fine. Last, user accounts to be called from outer attendant via directory search. If you would like to use the extensions of those people, you just need to take care that in the Azure AD you have this extension mentioned. And then you can dial them from the outer attendant using the extension, because this will not require a specific phone system license. Okay, so if you would like to reach them over the directory search, you don't need to license them. But again, keep in mind, they will not have an option to call out the PST numbers. But there might be particular cases like in our scenarios where it fits. And this is the proof. You can really enter into the outer attendant directory search like custom groups, which you will define, and you can also search for all online users. So meaning all online users. I believe that I try even for the guests in the account.
Quick question. Sorry.
There's a quick question.
There you go.
The user groups.
Yeah.
Is that specific?
Should I?
Oh, sorry. That user group, is that specific to within this environment, or is that linked across Azure AD groups, like M365 group, for example?
Yeah. Those would be like the special groups that you created. It might be the M365 groups. Okay. Last topic, Freeway Call. Freeway Call is quite regular function in the whole phone systems. So it's something like a conference, very easy conference. You have one guy calling another guy, and then you make a decision, okay, we will call another guy, and we will be 3 people in the conference call. And this is like what I call a three-way call. So I have a call established between one person to another, and then I will add anybody else. Is that possible within the phone system license? I have a question for you. Quiz. I have a user, David, and John. David is licensed. You guess which David is. It's an E3, phone system, and audio conferencing licensed person. John is an S3 and phone system licensed person. So both of them are having the phone system. This is the phone number of David, and this is the phone number of John. And now the question. David decides to call John. They have a call. It's a Teams call, because both of them are on Microsoft Teams. And now David makes a decision. I will call this mobile phone number of our colleague, and we will ask him about this. Okay, so he will dial out from that calling window, he will dial out the mobile phone number. Because he's having a phone system, he is able to dial out. Okay? What will be the number which will ring on that mobile phone?
David's number.
Which one?
Should be David's number.
Should be David's number. Okay.
Making the call out.
Yeah, that's wrong. It's a totally different number. And this number is the audio conferencing number. It's a conference bridge. It's confusing, right? Well, why it's making that call as a conference bridge? Because David is assigned within the audio conferencing license. An audio conferencing license is immediately giving you the opportunity to call out from the meeting using the complimentary minutes and things like that. What are you talking about? It's not a meeting, it's a one-to-one call, right? Well, if you invite another participant for a one-to-one call, it's elevating that call to the meeting, which is ultimately making like one of them organizer. Who is the organizer? The one who is adding another participant. So, based on the licensing of the organizer of that meeting, you will have the dialogue possibility using the appropriate license. And because David is within the audio conferencing license, he will use the audio conferencing dialogue capability and feature for that meeting. That's it.
Okay, give me the box.
But let's have
I'll
another
wait.
question, okay? I didn't answer that question. If the three-way call is possible within the phone system license, I didn't answer that question. So I will answer that question. We have the same situation. David, John, the same licensing. Now David is calling John. But now John makes a decision to call that phone number. What will be the phone number visible for that mobile as a calling?
I'm not John's number.
Now you're not answering. Okay.
I'll go with it.
No.
John's number.
Awesome. It's John's number. Perfect. Why? Because John is enabled within the phone system. And the phone system enables you to make a dial out on the freeway, but it also makes you ability to dial out from the Teams meetings. So if I am licensed just within the phone system and I'm running a meeting, and I would like to add some participants, cool, I can do that. And external participants with the phone number, no problem for me. I can do that. Here comes another point. What about we close the call? John is organizer of the meeting, and now David decides to call mobile phone number. Organizer is John. Which number will be displayed to the mobile? David's. Why? Because John is organizer of the meeting. And John as organizer is putting that capability into that meeting to dial out. And if David is enabled for dialing out the PSTN calls, he will use the online voice routing policy of the John. And this is even more complex. So if you don't get it, I'm happy to discuss offline. Because those things are based on the experience and testing. And we even had a very ugly experience within the on-net audio conferencing. So I can discuss that later. So make it a little bit more clear. When to assign audio conferencing license to meeting organizer? When to do that? When you really need to have audio conferencing? Because if I have a phone system, I can immediately download from the Teams meetings, right? So if you need to download from conference, or you need to have a call me add feature, which is that feature which you have when you join the Teams meeting, you can have audio over the phone. So at this stage, you might want to have audio conferencing because you don't have a phone system. For that case, you need to count on the complimentary minutes to Zone A countries. They are listed on Microsoft pages. Then you can call basically based on the you can call all the countries which are there. You don't need to care about the presence of the organizer. You don't have to take care about the presence of the tenant. It's just all the Zone A countries you can call out from your conferencing, or having the audio conferencing license. Or if you breach that complimentary minutes, you need to have communication credits, which is another license, and it's allowing you to consume the communication credits. There is a possibility of on-net with the direct routing. If you have a direct routing, you can use also the direct routing infrastructure for those calling out. Another good reason to have an audio conferencing license is to have a dialing numbers on your meetings. But it's only then until it will be in effect that all the audio conferencing dialing capabilities will become a part of all of those nice EFG buttons. So the audio conferencing dial-in part will be moved for this announcement by Jared Spataro, included into all E licenses. So even to E1, E3, E5, all of them will have the audio conferencing. But again, dial in counts. For dial out, it might be a different story. But if you have a phone system, you don't need to have anything special, right? So that's it. I hope that I provide multiple good news or good information which are maybe surprising to you. And if you have any questions, I'm here. And if you are a remote participant, just raise your hand. So here for questions. No question from the remote participants.
So any further question from the audience? Yeah, okay. Sure.
Great session. Just wanted to understand, how did you go about the testing side of things? Because obviously, like you mentioned, there's probably a lot more complex experiences behind that. What was that test experience like in terms of how did you coordinate and manage?
You know, how I find out that those things about the meeting organizer calling out is like an ugly behavior from my perspective, because for me personally, the calls were failing when I was doing the dial out from the meetings or when I was dialing the freeway call. And I was like, why? And then I found out I have a on-the-net direct routing policy on my audio conferencing. And I found out that when I'm making a dial out on one-to-one call, then I'm basically leveraging the audio conferencing license instead of the phone system. So when I was using direct routing on the net, voice routing policy for my meetings, plus the audio conferencing capability from one-to-one call, those two things together will make it that you are using the conference bridge number on the outgoing call. And it was failing because our provider was not allowing us to use the conf bridge number on the outgoing calls as a CLI. And at that stage, I was like, what's happening? And what was happening for my test users? So I was trying to dig in more, SBC logs, having a look into that, and yeah, I found out that's the case. If you have a one-to-one call, and you're making another call joining to that, like another participant, it's elevating the call to the meeting. If you are elevating the call to the meeting and you are dialing out, you are using the audio conferencing. And if you are not having the audio conferencing, you are using the phone system. And you know, slowly, one by one, testing all of those scenarios, I basically realized, okay, it's working like that. And it makes sense. Like if you have an organizer and you would like to stick with the organizer licenses, then it makes sense that you will have those capabilities.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, throw it at me. Virtual user licenses.
Yes.
I guess it depends on your situation, size of site, but did you have any capacity issues there? I'm thinking of scenarios where, my personal experience, lots of small sites. If I've got 100 sites with 5 users each, that's only giving me 50 virtual user licenses plus the 25, and I need to pay, in theory, for 25 extra phone system licenses just to have a call queue. Is that something you came across?
Not yet. Not yet, but I have a fear. And I hope that there will be an open dialogue with Microsoft to sort it out, because we have even situations, and we had, specifically in the UK, we had a situation where we have customer service centers which were reachable or like a double amount of numbers than we had the agents answering those calls. So then, yeah, that might be really tricky. And I agree that it's something which might cost us at some point, but again, I hope in the open dialogue as a customer. But also that point which I mentioned, time to time, you don't need to maybe have the license, right? And you can think if that license on the call queue is really necessary. Maybe really having just the phone number on the outset and then will solve the issue for you, because then you have a multiple call queues where you don't have to specifically need to have a phone system capability, and you don't need to then put the license there. Any other question? Are we going for the IP phone then? Yeah, we need to say goodbye to the ring participants. Okay. Thank you very much for your attention and joining us.